Good evening. I'm Karen Colville. I am known and recognized as a visual artist in Canada. I also am involved in a number of different development projects. So, one thing I really want to discuss today is that the difference between choosing to be a libertarian and what it is to be a liberal. So, I just wanted to get this clarified. So, essentially, on my journey, throughout my life, I have volunteered and become politically engaged. And for whatever party that I've volunteered for, and it's been all across the spectrum, that I found that the government has too much power. And now there's been a shift in recent years of governance. It's not even government anymore. So the world powers have gotten together, the world elites and the world powers have gotten together, and they essentially, with their vested interests, tell the government what to do. And that includes the central banks and many multinational corporations. So I became involved with a number of different political parties, volunteering for them to be able to learn more about it. And I took a course in political science, and then I was hurt. Like physically injured, so I was unable to keep up with my studies. So from there, I've just become politically engaged and went back to volunteering again. So over a year ago, I went to visit the Liberal Party of Canada on the federal level. And I went to one meeting and I found I had some questions for them, and there was a tension in the air. It was almost like I was in a room full of conservatives. So it was a little bit confusing. So some people say, well, liberals and conservatives, they're basically the same thing. So from there, I listened to a speech by Elizabeth May, and I found her work compelling. I was very intrigued by what she had to say and the projects that she was involved in, ending the pipeline and protecting the environment, and I thought that was a really great thing to be involved in. So on a provincial level, I become a volunteer for the BC Green Party. And so, every level of the spectrum, being a New Democrat, I didn't find that appealing, because more so is that if you're in a position that you're involved in a government program, then you have to toe the party line, and then you're expected to, be loyal to that party, of course, but I've always been intrigued by private property ownership, owning what you have, not having a state own you and own your property. So I've had that viewpoint my entire life, and so I thought, well, I'm more of a libertarian. I'm not really what is known in the classical liberal sense. So I may have values in my upbringing. I've had both my parents, both liberal and conservative, and so I've had very mixed views. But I found that throughout the course of life, that private property is really important, and to be able to protect your private property. So in 2011 or 2012, I met American libertarians, and I found them really, really intelligent, and they had so much to offer, but they were Americans. I'm Canadian. So I followed what Ron Paul had to say, and he seemed to be one of the most honest politicians going. And that's kind of has a lot to do, since people are placed into power, why he wasn't placed into power. He had too much of a good thing to offer the people themselves. So aside from politics, which normally I can't stand, I decided that I would check out what it would be to be a libertarian. So I've watched the videos in the most recent years, and I thought, I'm going to take that step. So this past year, I volunteered with the BC Green Party, and I read over their platform, and I thought, this has a lot of really good things to offer. And since they're collaborating in the BC government with the Greens, with the NDP, I think that's a really good thing. But when it comes to my own views, there doesn't seem to be a match. It's just not quite in alignment, because I've always wanted to own my own place and own my own property. I don't want the government owning me or owning my property. And they do. It's as simple as having a bank account. They own what's in your bank account. You don't really own it. If you have a mortgage, they own that mortgage through the bank. So I just wanted to have my own little place, live in peace, grow a garden, just like a lot of other people, but that's been near impossible. Housing is very challenging for a lot of people to be able to afford. So there was once a 3-tiered system where it was the upper class elites, middle working class, and the poor. And now it's upper class elites and the poor. There is no middle class whatsoever, and the middle class is just trying to hang on whatever's in existence. So this is what's been going on in very recent years. So now the paradigm's shifting, which is a really good thing, that more and more people are saying the system's not working. The Occupy movement really didn't have much of an impact on societal change, but it was a historical event, to say the least, because the few elites that are at the top were surrounded by the rest of the population that came out to support them. So I thought, libertarian, yes, let's look into this a little bit more. And I thought, well, as a political platform, or as a party, I thought, how could I get involved with that? So they are having their annual general meeting come, I think, towards the end of this October. So I've been invited to come in and introduce myself. I won't be attending the meeting, but I am invited to come in and meet everyone that's involved there. So I think that's a really good thing. And also I'm interested in anarchism, not the type that is violent, or, you picture people like at the G8 summit in Toronto, people turning over cars, but that was also a staged scene. So that's not the type of anarchism I'm interested in. So I discovered Jeff Berwick's channel again in the summertime and watched this anarcho-capitalism, as he coined this phrase, Jeff Berwick, and I thought that was really interesting. So there's sort of a blur, but it's almost in the same realm, libertarian and anarchist. So there's some concrete things growing, out of the concrete with that. So it's a minority, but it's also really growing rapidly around the world. So that's definitely something worth looking into. And the libertarians, what really I found was interesting, the difference. The Libertarian Party, as a political party, supports craft, independent people that want to grow their own cannabis for themselves for medical purposes, or for even some for whatever recreational purposes for themselves. But for medical purposes, this is really important, because most of the people that have grown cannabis over the years, independent, have grown organic. So since this multi-billion-dollar takeover, corporate takeover, like big pharma of, these companies attempting to get all these patents on medical cannabis, has turned it into a monopoly. So a lot of people, including the patients, have been squeezed out of the picture, and it's just atrocious. So it's basically a monopoly that is corporate, that is liberal. So I don't find myself wanting to fit in with this party and their agenda whatsoever, because it's just not fair to the rest of the population that needs medical access and is either unable to afford it, or they just want to grow their own for themselves or their loved ones. So that's one other thing. So I'm going to go in and introduce myself and get to know some of the libertarians and get their views and see if being a part of this party is going to be viable. And I have a feeling it will, because a lot of them support Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So this is really changing around the globe. And I really feel that this is the direction that so many young people are going into, that they actually have a choice. They actually can be sovereign and protect their private property rights. So that's something worth looking into. I used to watch Stefan Molyneux, who I'm not certain is an anarchist or whether he's a libertarian. I haven't figured that out yet, but I haven't been able to afford to support him or his channel, which kind of annoyed him. I got a little message from him on YouTube a few years back, and so I just stopped watching his channel altogether because I'm not in the position to afford to support him. So I kind of missed out on a lot of those viewpoints, but that was okay. And I feel as a female, it's kind of boys' club. So I hope to meet more female libertarians, and I really like to see some clarity as once you decide to become or label yourself. I don't really like labels, but if you become a libertarian or an anarchist, be proud of what you call yourself or identify yourself as being a sovereign person or a natural person. Because really, when it comes down to it, private property is really important to be able to protect what you've earned and what you've worked for or what you've been gifted most of your entire life. And minimizing government. You can't completely get rid of government. I really don't think there would be chaos. People can manage their own affairs and their own lives without government. But government really needs to be minimized to a great extent because there's so much corruption in government. That's the biggest challenge. It's the biggest problem that's gone on for decades. So I just wanted to get that out, that in the classical libertarian sense, that the classical liberals who become now present day libertarians are not liberal. Libertarian is a label for self-identification to one's values, and that's my take on being a libertarian. So I am going to explore this a lot further, and I wanted to share this with you because I feel it has great importance. All right, so have a good evening, and I will update you on my journey as meeting libertarians. Have a good night. Bye.